I have to say that this, in some way, supports that theory I had that maybe James Comey released that letter, that Clinton letter in October, because he thought that Clinton would win the election and that he had to be extra sure that he was immune and inoculated from questions of being too politicized, and that anticipating the potential for indictments, if not of Trump, but of Trump associates, sometime in the first quarter, second quarter of Hillary Clinton's presidency, that's what he did. Because now he's not behaving, and there's no consistency here. And that's, I don't know, becoming one of the only explanations. The only thing that's also strikes me as strange is that in this leak, and of course this is, these are FBI agents leaking to New York Times reporters. Senior FBI officials are said to be worried that the notion of a court-approved wiretap will raise the public's expectations that federal authorities have significant evidence implicating the Trump campaign in colluding with Russia's efforts to disrupt the presidential election. Now, this is also very hard to parse. I'd like to sit down with the reporter and get more specific on this because, A, we don't know if this is the FBI trying to misdirect members of the Trump administration. We don't have anything specific, so you can tell us whatever you want when we start the interviews. Or B, we just don't have evidence implicating the Trump campaign colluding with Russia's efforts to disrupt the presidential election, but we do have evidence of them making deals with the Russians about gas companies or whatever it is. I mean, who
lifting
knows?
Sanctions. It's a lot of money.
Who knows? But clearly there's a war going on that one would not expect to be going on if there was no investigation of anything. And so then the question becomes, what is Donald Trump's agenda in continuing to pursue this claim, despite the fact that Comey has specifically put it out there that Barack Obama did not order a wiretap? Here is Sarah Huckabee Sanders, Mike Huckabee's daughter.
She is disturbing.
Spokesperson for the Trump organization.
The Trump org.
On with George Stephanopoulos, trying to make the case. I don't know what case she's trying to make.
Does President Trump accept the FBI director's denial?
I don't think he does, George. I think he firmly believes that this is a storyline that has been reported pretty widely by quite a few outlets. The wiretapping has been discussed in the New York Times, BBC, Fox News, and we believe that
Sarah,
it should be looked at by the House Intelligence
Sarah, I have
Committee.
got to stop you right there. Every single article you just mentioned does not back up the president's claim that President Obama had him wiretapped. Not a single one of those articles backs that up. So what is the president's evidence?
It does back up the fact that the administration was wiretapping American citizens. There was a wide reporting suggesting that his administration, whether it was directly ordered by this president specifically, his administration could have done
Sarah,
this.
I have got to stop you
George,
again. No, Sarah, I've got to stop you again because that is simply not true. All the articles you just mentioned, not one of them says that President Trump ordered a wiretap. One of them based on
President
Obama. One of them based on anonymous sources says there might have been a court-ordered FISA wiretap. That has been denied by the former director of national intelligence, James Clapper.
Look, I love how now anonymous sources don't matter anymore. We've been dealing with anonymous sources and having to fight back against that for the last 6 months. It's funny how the media
but Sarah,
now
hold
starts
on a second. Sarah, even if that one is true, that is saying it was a court-ordered wiretap, not an illegal wiretap ordered by President Obama.
Look, it would have been under this administration, George. You don't get to just wash your hands of something, whether it's the Justice Department under which you control, which would have fallen under this administration and under this past president. I think the bigger question here is let's let the House Intelligence Committee do its job, George.
That is not true.
They committed over the weekend.
Sarah, hold on a second. Hold on a second. That is not true. There is a world of difference between an illegal wiretap ordered by a president and a court-ordered wiretap approved by a federal judge. There's a world of difference between those two things.
The fact that it was being done is a story that we should be talking about, George, and all we're asking is that we let Congress do its job. Let's let the House Intelligence Committee review this, investigate it, as they committed to do over the weekend.
So, I mean, what's bizarre about this is that, well, it's not bizarre, actually. I mean, this makes total sense. On one hand, what we're seeing now is the Trump administration saying, we know there's stuff out there that we don't like. And we're going to conflate the idea of a FISA-warranted spying, essentially, wiretapping, with just the president ordering some cronies to do it. Now, with that said, look, I think there's a good reason to be dubious about FISA. And in this instance, reporting suggests that there were 2 warrants that were rejected by the FISA court, which made it literally number 13 and 14 out of something like 30 or 40,000 requests. So this is clearly borderline stuff. But they don't seem to care that they're inviting the American public to ask the question, why did the FBI on their own think that they had stuff that was worthy of a warrant to wiretap? Now, I would also say this is the foreign intelligence. So this is not even, they wouldn't even be wiretapping American phones. They would be wiretapping
Russian.
foreign, well, not necessarily Russian,
I know.
foreign nationals' phones, and that may have contact with people in the U.S. And so I think the game that the White House is playing is, you know, they're trying to mitigate a problem, but they're trying to conflate the idea of a processed wiretap versus a just complete abuse of power. And I think they're doing
wonder why
that.
they might want to also have that precedent for their own activities.
And I think for their own activities or to discount information that may come out. We'll find out.
And don't you think it's also just an extension of, like, they clearly have their own? So, I know the Bush administration with Iraq specifically had its own fake news, alternative intelligence process, but they want to do that with everything. So it's like this is also their signal to turn it into a congressional investigation and create a whole bunch of, and I think it's, you know, I don't even think that they even would necessarily think through the implications.
The best defense is a good offense.
Yeah.
And they're
that's
trying
their
to get,
instinct for everything.
now they're going to try and get Wiregate Ghazi.
Exactly.
Is what it's going to be.
Wiregate.
Or you know, yeah, basically.
Muslim prayer gate Ghazi.
Tapgate.
She also says that the president controls the Department of Justice, which was not accurate.
I mean, theoretically, it shouldn't.
Also, I wonder why Mike Huckabee is a spokesperson now.
Mike Huckabee? Oh.
Hey,
everybody. Sam Seder here.
Donald Trump is a bad guy. Believe me. It's true.
It is true. And you can subscribe to this channel by subscribing to this channel. It's true.